What's up, golfers? Today we're going to talk about overspeed training. What it is, who it's for, should you even do it? Are you really going to get that much faster? Are the gains going to stick? Lots of questions that we've had about overspeed training in the past. We're going to unpack all that today to hopefully help you kind of sift through a lot of the information out there, because there is a lot of it, make the most sense of it, and make a really informed decision for you about should you do speed training, if it's safe for you. If you are going to do it, what's the best way to go about it? So for anyone that's new to the kind of overspeed, I don't want to call it a fad, but it's relatively new in the golf world, probably in the last 10 years or so. But overspeed training is not something new. Track and field has been using overspeed training for decades and decades. Batting or baseball, they've used lighter bats to train batters to swing faster, again, for decades. So it's not anything that's really new. What we're talking about is training your nervous system. So it's not a typical strength and conditioning regimen that you would typically use. It's sort of a specialty sort of program that you would put in at a certain point in someone's programming to get the most out of what they physically have. So in the running world, you would, after a certain amount of training, someone's put in a certain amount of mileage, they've gotten a good base of running under their belt, then you would maybe start running them on a gradual downhill so that they're actually training faster, running faster for short amounts of time. So they can actually get used to, their nervous system can get used to running at slightly faster speeds and get accustomed to that. So the idea is that we will actually learn to swing at a faster speed or run at a faster speed than normal. You train your nervous system to actually take that governor off a little bit so you can actually tap into speed that is already there. So that's the theory. And a decade or so ago, several companies came out with products all around the same time, and they promised more yards, more speed, and it is something that if you do it once, you will, at the end of the session, the speed training session, you will be faster. But that, again, it's a nervous system hack. You've gotten used to swinging faster, so by the end of that session, yeah, you might be up 3 miles an hour, but you come back an hour later, you're not gonna, that 3 miles an hour is not gonna stick. So it's something that has to be trained into, and you have to do speed training consistently or overspeed training consistently over time so that those gains will stick. So that initial 3 miles an hour, after 6 weeks it might stay, and then you might level off, and then you have to train a little bit more to gain an extra couple miles an hour over time. So that's the general overall principle of what overspeed training is. Now, who is overspeed training for in golf? Okay, golfers need to be physically capable of swinging the club faster than they already swing it. Unfortunately, most golfers, based on our research, about 9 out of 10 golfers aren't physically ready to do overspeed training because they are not mobile enough to do so. Okay, we found that most golfers, when we test them on their 4 rotary centers, if you don't know what those are, it's your neck, your spine should rotate, your shoulders should rotate, and your hips should rotate. If any one of those 4 rotary centers, if you're not passing, you're putting yourself in danger of basically that is a limiting factor. If you can't rotate enough, your body's going to compensate and use other areas, usually lower back, maybe elbows and wrists, and you're probably going to end up hurt. Some of you watching this video may have bought any one of these devices and used them for 6 weeks, 4 weeks, and found yourself injured, and then you weren't able to golf at all, and then you're not able to do the sport you love, and that ultimately is not a good thing. So we want to help you. Number one, make sure you're fit and ready to do so. So if you don't know if you're mobile enough in terms of the rotary centers to be ready to do speed training, we've got a link in the description to see what your safe swing speed actually should be. You should also know how fast are you currently swinging the club. If you're interested in speed training, you probably have an idea. Do I swing my driver 90 miles an hour, 95, 100, 105? You may have a speed training monitor, a pocket launch monitor. This is something, if you're going to do speed training, you need to have a pocket launch monitor so you can actually track a speed, because if you don't know how fast you're swinging it, it's hard to actually push yourself to swing a little bit faster. So that is something you're going to need. You're also going to need to be able to have a certain amount of strength to support the speed. Okay, most people, if you've golfed for a long time, you might be swinging at 95, 100 miles an hour and you want to swing at 105 or 110. Are you actually strong enough to support that kind of speed though, or are you going to end up hurting yourself by doing overspeed training? If you don't have a good vertical jump, or if you haven't jumped in a while and or don't even think about jumping, and you can't go to the ground and just knock out a bunch of push-ups very easily with strict form, you're probably not strong enough to do overspeed training. So even if you're mobile enough, if you're pushing the limits of your body's speed, you are going to be, it's essentially like doing a sprint, okay? And doing it over and over and over again. So if your body's not physically strong enough to support that speed, you are going to end up injured. So those are the main caveats we would have with speed training, which is why we say it's reserved for about 10% maybe of the golfing population who are physically capable and have the tools necessary to get what they need from that speed training without risking injury. So assuming you're mobile, assuming you're strong, you're ready for speed training, how do we do it? There's a bunch of different ways we can do it. You can just take your own driver. If you don't want to buy a speed training system, you can just take your own driver. Again, make sure you've got a pocket launch monitor. You need to know how fast you're currently swinging. Okay? So if I set that launch monitor up and I'm hitting golf balls, you can do one of two things. You can start hitting golf balls, okay, at your normal speed, and once you're warmed up, you can actually start swinging faster and start swinging faster until you can't swing any faster. Probably going to be about 25 to 30 swings in a session once you're warmed up to get to your max speed. Unfortunately, what happens is you will ultimately see where the golf ball is going. So if you're training outside and you see where the golf ball is going, you are subconsciously going to try and correct where the ball is going. So if you start to pull some and push some, you're probably going to start to slow down your swing to try and straighten that ball flight out, which is not what we're trying to do here. When we're looking at training overspeed, we're trying to just move that club head as fast as you possibly can through the impact area, okay? So the main thing, ideally you would not be able to see the ball flight. It would just be, you could be hitting into a net, or you can take dry swings, okay? So without hitting a golf ball. People typically are going to swing their fastest when there isn't a ball there. They're not concerned about where the golf ball is going, so you can just go ahead, wind up, and then rip through it as fast as you can. You will, again, the ball is not there to provide any resistance, so you will swing it a few miles an hour faster than when you're hitting a ball, but you will swing it faster. So just swinging your own driver, again, 25 to 30 swings, all-out swings in a session is going to be enough. 2 times a week is probably plenty to do that. Again, make sure you're warmed up. Do your mobility work. Make sure your rotary centers are moving well and you've got to sweat before you start swinging all out. All right? You would never train a sprinter by just having them do a few toe touches and a few quad stretches and say, okay, go run your 100 meters as fast as you can. But that's unfortunately what a lot of people end up doing when they do overspeed training. Because golfers don't always think like athletes, but when we're talking speed training, you need to think like an athlete. And so there's a lot of other systems that we have. If you do want to invest in an actual speed training system, there's plenty of options out there, okay? Good old Super Speed Golf, they've got the green, blue, and the red sticks, light, medium, heavy. So the system was initially designed to, have different weights, one a little bit heavier and the other two a little bit lighter. So the green's a little lighter. Then we've got your blue and your red, progressively heavier. The red one's a little heavier than your driver, ultimately. And we actually did research for this company when they first came out with the product. Said, hey, do some testing on this. We'd love to see what happens and how it works with the test groups. So we had a control group. We had a test group. We had one group just swinging the medium stick, just the heavy stick, just the light stick in separate groups. One doing all 3 sticks and one control group doing nothing, just a normal strength training protocol. And ultimately what we found is the group swinging the medium stick at 1/3 of the volume. So just this was the follow-up study we did, just 1/3 of the volume, 30 swings instead of 100 swings, which was the Super Speed's initial protocol, had essentially the same net benefit in terms of speed gain. There wasn't, you can see our research online, it wasn't any different. So what we learned from that is the minimum effective dose is going to be the most important thing. You do not need to swing 95 to 100 swings all out. You would never, again, you would never train a sprinter like that, which is one of the reasons why we were a little bit curious when this company first came out, and their initial protocol was on the higher end of volume, which thankfully that's one of the benefits of doing the research, is that they've actually lowered they've adjusted their volumes. It's probably in that more 25 to 35 swings. They're still advocating swinging on both sides, right and left. There's not any conclusive research out there to show that that prevents injury, proves that makes you any faster. We just advocate swinging your dominant side only. You can do both sides if you want to, but again, the jury is still out on that. Ripstick, again, was another speed training device. Some adjustable weights in here. So the theory is you could have one stick, change the weights, and just have one stick. You don't have to have three or carry three around. And then the most recent addition, the stack system, which has basically a variable weighting system, and you can put little discs on here, take this end off. The cool thing about the stack is that it has its own app with AI-powered programming. So the app is constantly learning from your swings. The cool thing about it is you tell the app how fast you're swinging every single swing. So that the stack app will record every swing you take, and it records that and creates your programming based on that speed and how fast you're swinging day to day. If you're having a slower day, it's not going to program a lot of volume for you. So those are the benefits. It's a bit of a higher tier option, more expensive option, but it probably provides the best programming and the best value overall. So definitely, if you're starting off with speed training, keep the volume low would be the main thing. Actually, number one, the main thing, you got to be mobile, you've got to be strong. Okay? Again, overspeed training is probably 10% or less of the population. I hate being the bearer of bad news for a lot of golfers out there, but it's true. Most golfers, if you haven't been working out, if you haven't been working on your mobility and flexibility, stay away from speed training. You're probably going to hurt yourself, and you might be out for 6 to 8 weeks on the golf course. Nobody wants that. So if you really want to improve speed training, do it, or improve your swing speed, do it the right way. Improve your mobility. You'll probably gain swing speed just by improving your mobility around the 4 rotary centers. Get stronger. Learn to squat. Learn to hinge. Learn to push and pull with resistance and loading it stronger. Then once your body can support more speed, you can start your overspeed training program, make some gains. And again, you'll probably see within a year, you should be able to see 5 to 6 miles an hour of speed gain in the course of a year. Okay? But it's not a magic pill. It does take consistent effort and time to make those gains. So I hope you guys found that information really helpful. It would help us out a ton if you would subscribe for more great content, and I'll see you guys next time.